The siege raged on. For almost 3 years now, since 66 BCE, Roman praetor Marcus Antonius's mighty ships had floated just off the edge of the tiny island of Crete, threatening its citizens and blocking off its trade ships from the wider world. It was a brutal blockade. No food, goods, or people could get on or off the island. Antonius and the Roman navy were trying to starve Crete into submission. "Unacceptable," the king of Crete bellowed at his advisors, his castle rattling from the sheer force of his anger. "Unbelievable! Unconscionable! How can these vile aggressors be allowed to hover on our very shores?" His advisors cowered in fear. None of them wanted to explain to the king why the Roman warships sat safely off the shores of the island. They knew what happened to advisors who brought the king bad news with no solutions, and they liked having their heads still attached to their bodies. "Well, surely someone in this court can explain to me why these Roman attackers are still alive," the king yelled, the blood rushing to his face. "Someone start talking, or else I'll show you what happens to advisors who have no advice to give." Silence. Not a pin drop was heard in that great throne room as the king's blood boiled. But then, one man cleared his throat. "Your Grace, I believe I may be of some help," said the man. He looked quite unassuming, almost nerdy. "Who are you?" The king was skeptical of this man. In a room full of 4-star generals, admirals, and royalty, this person looked out of place. "I once studied Algebra 2 at Bell Multicultural High School in Columbia Heights, Crete. I believe that the math I learned there can help us defeat the Romans." "Speak then," the king commanded. "What is the problem?" The advisor adjusted his spectacles and began. "Well, the Roman warships hovered just off our rocky cliffs, floating in the water beneath. We want to move our catapults to the tops of those cliffs to attack the ships, but we have never launched boulders into the sea before. We've only ever used them to attack other cities on the ground. The ships are below the cliffs, so all our measurements of how far we can launch boulders are wrong now." The king nodded and observed the pictures that the advisor drew on the whiteboard. Yes, I see the difference," the king said. "The boulder travels for longer when you launch it from the top of the cliff as opposed to the ground." The advisor continued. "We know that when we move the catapults onto the cliffs, we'll only have a few chances to hit the ships before the Romans realize what's happening and attack our catapults. So before we move the catapults out, we have to figure out exactly how far our boulders will go if we launch them off the cliff." The king looked at him sternly. "Then do it. Have a report on my desk by tomorrow."